Welcome to today's daily tune-in. If I said I wasn't nervous about delivering today's message, I would be completely dishonest. I'm a little bit nervous about it because it takes me into realms of vulnerability I have not been to when delivering these daily tune-ins. However, I am also very much urged to do this work. I am very much, it's not pushed, but I'm very much, I'm clear. I'm very clear that this is my work to do. And this vulnerability is taking me into a higher evolution of sharing a part of me that many people haven't known up until now. For anyone watching this who has known me for any certain amount of time, I haven't really shared the more intuitive side of myself, the more psychic side of myself. And some people have never known me to be that because I shut that part of me down for a very long time. But today's message is very much one that I know can help many of you through these next 40 days of intensity that I talked about from yesterday. And it goes even deeper into what that means. So I'm going to share it, and I'm going to share it vulnerably, knowing that there might be some pushback and there might be some comments that, that aren't of consciousnesses that are either ready to receive it or that that want to resist it. So tune in with me as we get into today's daily tune-in about these universal rewards that are available to us when we do the inner work. Take a look at the Schumann Resonance for today, because today is almost eerily quiet. You know, we have, if you've been following these daily tune-ins, we have had, this has been almost a constant for, 10, for almost 2 weeks now. These blasts we talked about yesterday coming in that are giving us some good old, punches and triggers into those lower densities. Okay, you see where they are, these lower densities of our physical and emotional being. These are allowing us to do that shadow work. That shadow work is the part of us that majority of humanity will deny, that they will ignore. But it's becoming almost impossible to ignore, and it is going to become impossible to ignore, because remember, we've talked about the different triggers. Either we trigger transformation by being honest, and as these things bubble up and we take a look at them and we face them, we are consciously choosing to transform and to process and alchemize these lower densities that are becoming illuminated within us. Or we can continue to ignore them, and the outside world will trigger it in some way so that we don't have any choice but to deal with these lower densities. These lower densities cannot resonate with, within the planetary vibration anymore. So if they're within you or they're in your world or your reality, they are going to have to be faced. There's no stopping this process. And we can also see that a lot of these energies have gone down into those higher frequencies, which I talked about yesterday on yesterday's daily tune-in. Purging, and when I say purging isn't always a bad thing, but this is also triggering, especially over here, triggering these higher frequencies in us, which have to do a lot with what the message is for today. So if you take a look at how eerily quiet it is right now on the Schumann, but we have this interesting surge that came in. It was really fast, but you can see as we zoom in, let me go up. It's almost as if these are like the DNA activations, and it goes all the way down into our superconscious, all the way down. So before I looked at this, I got the message for today, and now I understand why. Because this, even though it looks like nothing, it looks like a short little blast, it's something. And it's something here that's by itself. It was a surge that came in that was void of all of this other stuff. What I call static is kind of like when it's like scraping all of the things, all the densities loose. This that they've given us a break here, but we've got this one quick surge down here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that might be for us. But secondly, I want to go into the magnetosphere because, as you can see, again, pretty quiet compared to what we have been seeing. But take a look at where this pressure is coming from. It's coming from this backside, where this dark side. So the sun is on this side, which is typically where we see a lot of the energies coming in from from these solar flares and the solar energies. But back here, this is all galactic energies coming in, and it's coming in and wrapping around us. So it again coincides and resonates with the message that I'm about to give you. So let's get into that. So yesterday I talked about these next 40 days, it's actually 38 days now, of intensity. And I asked for more clarity on that because it was such a broad statement and something that had a lot of juice to it. It had a lot of mystery to it, and yet also some energy that I was kind of like, what does that really mean? What does 40 days of intensity mean? And when I first got the message and what I shared yesterday is the 40 days is really going to be about an intensity of giving us a quantum leap in consciousness and a rise in consciousness. So what that has meant to me so far, especially this past year, when I look at me in last year at this time and me now, it feels like lifetimes have gone by, not in linear time, but in growth and in consciousness and in understanding of everything, from my own world, to the outside world, to dimensionalities of worlds. The knowledge and wisdom that has come into me, uniquely into me, has greatly changed me. And I know that is not unique. Many of us and many of you watching this have also had the same experience. I've had conversations. I've had clients that I've worked with who were like, I don't even know who I was 3 months ago. I can't even identify with that person, and I can completely understand that. So we understand that there is a massive shift that's happening. So what these 40 days of intensity meant to me when I originally got the message and shared it with you was that, we're going to get some more lessons, we're going to get more things to purge, so that we can clear ourselves. Because what is happening is we are literally clearing our bodies, our physical bodies and our energetic bodies, so that we can rise up and meet the resonance of the higher vibrations of our Earth as she orbits through the Pleiadian photon belt. So we are having to literally cleanse everything. So as I went deeper into it yesterday after recording the daily tune-in, I was thinking, I don't feel like I have a whole lot more to cleanse. And what that means is not that I'm like, I'm done my work. It just means that I feel like I have let go of so much already. And I'm not resisting and holding on. I don't have anything else to lose. I'm not fearful of anything, really. My biggest fears over this past year have been faced. I have literally lost having my kids in my life every single day. And that was a big fear and something I was controlling for so long that when I let it go, I've been through the process of grieving that, and there's still work to be done around that, but I don't fear it as much because I understand what's happening. I've let go of pretty much all the belongings that I've ever had and every part of any life that I had created. I've let go. I've let go of really hard relationships that were a lifetime of imbalance and dis-ease. Let go of those. I've put my boundaries up. So when I was thinking about, okay, in these 40 days of intensity, what does that mean? And what could it possibly mean that's going to be shaken up in my inner world that I'm going to have to look at? And I couldn't find anything. And so I thought, well, okay, that's good. And then I was like, okay, what could happen? What's worst case scenario in the outer world that could happen that would shake me and I would be so afraid, or I would have to process? There isn't much out there either, simply because I understand from a higher level perspective, when I do remember to come to the higher levels of consciousness and look at the outer world and the events that are happening, I understand that they are all designed to help us wake up and to purge all of our connections to that outer world. That everything is happening in such obvious, like blatant ways, so that more and more humans can see how convoluted and really how imprisoned or limited and restricted we have been. Without saying, oh, there's a restriction in order, what this is all showing us is we have been restricted, we have been limited, we have been, enslaved, so to speak, in these systems that were convoluted because we thought we were free. And I've disconnected from a lot of that. I have seen how the freedoms we've been given were actually payment to someone else for them to be actually free, and for us to continue to work to support the freedoms of others who controlled the system that made us feel like we were free. So whatever they can throw at us at this point, whatever Mother Nature throws at us, I understand is for this purpose of rising up in frequency. So whether it's manipulated and a deceptive event that's pushed at us, I get what that's about, and I won't participate in it, and I'm not going to be afraid of it, because being in fear or anxiety of it just feeds the deception. If it's Mother Earth, I'm also understanding that she has got to rumble and she's got to do her things to purge the earth of densities and of whatever needs to be purged from her in order to bring her vibration up. So there's so much happening that I don't have this fear of very much anymore. And that Janis Joplin song keeps ringing in my mind of, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So as I sat with that all throughout, yesterday and then in my journaling, I have my notes here because it was a really important message. As I sat with it, I was like, okay, what does this mean? What's the opposite expression of intensity? If we can either go into this, if we've still got densities and fears and anxieties and things we're worried about, the intensity is going to be for these next 40 days to really, I don't know if all of it, but a lot of it's going to be triggered to have to face, right? The intensity is going to tune up the triggers to have to face it. So I would highly recommend, if you are still living with a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and a lot of overwhelm, that you are the trigger, that you start to actually deal with things. Really, to be honest with you, that's what I'm here to help you do. That is my profession. So if you need support, I'm here for that. The opposite expression is for those who have nothing left to lose, and you don't have a lot of fears, and you don't have a lot of anxieties, and whatever is bubbled up, if anything does bubble up, you know what to do with it. You know that if you sit with it long enough, it eventually goes away and the next wave of joy comes in, or peace or contentment comes in. And that is where many of us, especially if you're resonating with these daily tune-ins, you're probably there too. So you're not afraid of stuff bubbling up. I'm not saying that I'm cleared and forever will be. No, but what I do know is when things bubble up, I've been through the heaviness, like the heaviest stuff already. So when something does bubble up, like it did the other night for me, I sat and I cried and I journaled out my pain. And the next day I woke up and I told my husband, I was like, okay, I'm cleared of that, And although things aren't perfect in my world, I have known that the work that has been done over these last few years, and especially this last year, has brought me to this place where I have nothing left to lose. I have nothing left to fear. So really, I am free. And if you are there, what does this 40 days of intensity mean? What it means is that there is a universal reward that is ready to be received. So when that came out yesterday, I was like, tell me more. So there's another aspect to this, because many people have been feeling like this energy of like a shift. I've seen it in comments on my posts. I've also talked in, I mentioned that I'm in a healing circle that meets a couple times a week, and all of us have all been like, I feel like there's just something about to shift. There's something about to happen. And that can lead to, to anxiety of like, what is this? What is this? But I did a video about a week ago about that, about, yes, there's anxiety being felt, but there's also the opposite expression of that feels very similar, which is excitement. So for me, it feels more like this anticipation of like, this shift is the thing that I've been working towards, the thing that I've been working towards as far as freedom. And when the words universal rewards came up last night, I was like, that's what it is. It almost feels as if my greatest desires, or my greatest desires are a reward is at hand. It's right there. And that's exciting. So my question for these last couple of weeks that I've been in that is, what is that? How does that come into my reality? How does that manifest into the physical world? And I got the answer. So I want to share this with you, so stick with me, okay? I know there was a lot of backstory, but I'm getting into the message because it's really important that you understand that there's going to be two expressions of the intensity of these 40 days. There's going to be the 40 days where if you're not done your work, you're going to be pushed to do your work, And yet, if you've done your work and you're kind of like, okay, bring it on, I'm not really worried, there's the excitement aspect. There's the opposite expression of what is this work and what is being delivered. So I've been talking about these big influxes of energy that have come in, and how the ones that go real deep down into those higher frequencies into us are stirring or agitating those higher frequencies of our fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional self, our emotional self and our soul frequency self, okay? Why they're dimensional is because we can't see those aspects. They're in a different dimensional vibration, but they are still aspects of who we are. And as these zaps, so to speak, or those big spikes come in and go all the way through us, not only is it agitating all of the densities of our physical bodies and those lower frequencies of our fourth dimensional bodies, those emotions that are being stirred up, what those are doing as we do that purging, and we continue to purge and we continue to purge and get rid of all of the densities, what's really happening is as we surrender to them and we process them and we purge them out of our field and out of our bodies, that is the dissolution of our ego personalities. All of those roles we have played, all of those attachments we've had. So over this past year, I've had this attachment to what it means to be a daughter in kind of a dysfunctional relationship. And when I've detached from that, not because I'm ignoring it, but because I had to remove myself and put a boundary up to understand what a healthy relationship is, I had to detach from the dysfunction to really sit with the healing energy of what did I really want in that, and who do I want to be. And I want to be my sovereign self in this relationship, and I was giving away so much of my power and it wasn't serving me. Same with other relationships I've had in my life. Same with other responsibilities and obligations that I've had in my life. I had to detach from much of what was not completely healthy to break down the attachment, the ego attachment I had, that I had to keep up this thing in my life, or this role that I was playing, just because the outer world tells me I had to keep that. So the ego personality of myself, and I know many of you, are completely breaking down as we process these. So what's happening then is these spikes come in and agitate, which is a good thing. You know, we do need agitation sometimes to then spark our superconscious, our higher self, our soul frequency to come in and take over. So I've talked a lot about the higher self becoming in power. She's coming into power, where the ego personality self is taking a much more submissive role. And as this soul frequency comes up, what she's bringing with her are remembrances of who you are. So what we've been talking about is you might be getting new ideas, new desires, new images, or new things that you want in your life. And we automatically assume a lot of times that these are just constructs of our ego that are just making up, like, ooh, this is what I would love to have my life look like. Here's what I would love to have this particular relationship look like. But what's really happening is, because we are cleansing and clearing so much, we're becoming clear vessels for our soul frequency to rise up. And she is this part of us, the fifth dimensional part of us, is the part that's plugged into that universal source, that universal knowledge that is the truth of who you are. And that is the multidimensional self that is living many dimensional lives based on frequency. So everything is happening. You have, an infinite amount of lives being played out right here, right now. And as you come up in frequency, you are resonating then with the higher self of you that is living the ideal life that you want to be living. And you are pulling in these remembrances, these clips from that life that's being left over here in this dimension, because you're moving into that frequency. And eventually those timelines will converge, will conjunct, and you will then step into that timeline. So what that really means is, don't negate these ideas and these desires and these new parts of you that are coming awake as, like, I don't know who that is, and where did she come from? Where did he come from? I've never known this part. This is the part of you that you've always wanted to be, and the remembrance is really just you're kind of doing the deja vu thing, and you're tuning into that resonant part of you that's actually living that ideal life and that expression of life that you are really wanting to live. So that is why continue to let go of all the things that aren't serving you, because that's not who you are anymore. You are this new version. This new part of you is coming into resonance with the cleansing and clearing of your body as you come up in vibration. So the reward, the universal reward, is when these two timelines come together and you emerge in that life where your life is completely updated, upgraded, and balanced and healthy and in an abundant and thriving expression. The universal reward that you can be stepping into in these 40 days can be showing up in your physical life. So the intensity is the excitement of being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just came in. Oh my gosh, I can't believe finally, finally all the work that you have done is being paid off. Because as you know, we have been living in these egoic matrix lives where you go to work and you get paid, but it's at the expense of your life. Right? You trade your time, you trade your life to get paid to sustain yourself. But again, a lot of that power is being given to someone else to tell you how much you're going to be paid, how much time you have to work, how much, what days you have to work. Whereas the opposite expression of that is you do the inner work to release yourself of all of that. And as you do that, you turn your faith and your belief and your soul into your higher self that is sustained and that is paid in the receptivity of energy that's coming in, that is balanced, that is clear, that is healthy. And when you continually pay yourself with that, and you let go of that world that has kind of kept you limited and tied down to how much you can be paid, and puts the power in someone else's hand to give you your value, this over here, this universal reward, is the payout for the work you did in faith to yourself to come back to your godlike self, to come back to your soul self. So many of us, many of you, are going to be in an intense manifestation phase in these next 40 days of pulling in your payment, your rewards. And your rewards are those desires that you've had, that you've kept in your mind, knowing that if you continue to rise up in your frequency, that you would eventually meet the higher self that is living your most expressed and most abundant life in physical form. So the rewards are coming in. This is when we get to practice receiving for all of the letting go that we've done, all of the purging, all of the hard shedding of things that no longer served us. That was a lot of work. We had to overcome fear. We've had to overcome anxiety. We've had to overcome judgment. We've had to let go of judgments. We've had to let go of explaining ourselves. We've had to let go of so much stuff and so many things that we thought we loved, that defined who we were, to come up into our power. And now is when the universal payout comes in whatever those desires are bubbling up, in whatever those remembrances are. That's how we are going to get paid, because they are each unique to each of us. I have completely different desires and remembrances of and ideas of who I am in my highest expression than you do. And when we are all in our highest expression, we glow. We are light beings. We become the light beings that then people say, how did you do that? How did you get there? How are you so happy when everything looks like it's fallen down? And you say, let me show you. Let me tell you my story. And this is when we get to share how the work that we did actually benefited us, when everyone told us we were crazy. Everyone judged, right? We even judged ourselves. We're like, what am I doing this for? Because this is so painful and it doesn't seem to be getting me anywhere. This is when we start to see evidence that we've gotten somewhere in the physical realm. That was pretty exciting to me. I want to make sure that I've gotten, I'm going to continue actually this tomorrow, because there's more to this, and I'm sure there's going to be more that bubbles up, but I think this is a good place to end and kind of process this message. So there's two expressions of the next 40 days. There's the expression for those who have to keep doing the work. There's going to be some triggers, and we're going to have to continue to work through all of this, and know that if you are still in that category, there is a universal payout, and there is an opposite expression, and eventually you will get to the point where then you have nothing else to lose. You've let go of everything. You don't really have any fears. And then you get to receive the payout. So rather than paying in your a lifetime for sustenance, we get to receive the payout of a lifetime that we've lived in service to ourselves, to come back to our godlike selves. Super exciting. I like it. I'm still processing it. I'm still, sitting with it. And I want to bring in some more practicality on that. But we are the trigger to having that start. Just like in, when you have densities, you trigger those densities, you make the choice. We are making the choice to let that shift, that energy that we're kind of feeling like, ooh, we are the trigger to poke at it so that it starts to fall into our third dimensional manifested life. I'm going to bring more about that on tomorrow's Daily Tune-In. But for now, just know that if you feel excitement and you feel something exciting and you're not too afraid about these 40 days of intensity, know that this might be just the time for you to start receiving those universal rewards. Good job. I'll see you on tomorrow's Daily Tune-In. Mwah. Have a good one. If today's Daily Tune-In brought you value and insight, please consider giving in return for that value by leaving a love offering. All donations go to keeping this platform operating and in service to humanity during these transformational times. To go even deeper into your soul frequency, please consider these offerings. For personal insights into your most pressing questions and concerns, get an energetic insight reading delivered directly to your inbox. To take a quantum leap in your transformation, book a personal session with Vedette. There are several options available based on how deeply you would like to go into your most desired soul-led life. To find more information and to book your sessions, please visit VedetteMayer.com.